service have a location where people can go and at a reduced cost or no cost secure good clothing so they can make an important impression for a job interview. Why not take advantage of that facility or a tantamount facility? So that's question number one. Relative to the haircuts for $50, it's my understanding that at this particular barber shop, their haircuts are $12. So if we give someone a gift certificate for $50, then the expectation would be that over a period of time, they would go back to this particular barber shop at least 4 times. Is that, how do you account for this?
Well, I appreciate the questions. I was not aware of that, about the $12.50. What I am aware of, the 2 individuals that we were supporting in this were both women. You know, as being married, I know that the cost of having your hair done is an expensive venture. So that did not raise to my attention when I was making that approval. And the idea of going to Catholic Charities or another place is a very good suggestion, and that will be heeded as well.
Thank you. My final observation, Mr. Foreman, is I notice that in this situation, for both the haircuts and the gift certificates to Ross, that the claimant is a county employee. And it seems to me that it would be, I mean, I can understand expediency. And this particular employee put these charges on her personal credit card. Now, I've checked with purchasing, and it's a very easy process to issue a blanket purchase order to whomever we want, and then process the purchases in that fashion as opposed to using an employee's personal credit card. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Lees to work with you to explore some other options for making these purchases. And that concludes my observations.
Supervisor Paul.
Thank you, Chair Modi, and thank you, Supervisor Kehoe, for bringing the matter to the board's attention. I appreciate it. In your board report, Mr. Foreman, Chief Foreman, on the 4th line, you note the need for flexibility in meeting varied needs as the reason for submitting it in this fashion. And I understand that's your interpretation of it, and you were wondering if maybe you'd gotten the message wrong from the board. In my recall of what we approved, it was more along the lines as what you've applied for in terms of funding here, more along the line of immediate needs on an emergency basis. And so I would also weigh in on Supervisor Kehoe's observation that there's no need to, you know someone's going to graduate. That's a planned out process. I would see no need to put it on employee credit card. It does put that employee in an awkward position of having to be reimbursed or maybe possibly not be reimbursed. So I don't know what happens there if it's not approved. Initially, when I looked at the haircuts, I thought that seemed extraordinary, and it might actually be overpriced at $50. I know I pay $12.95, usually put down $15, including a tip, and say thank you, but I know my wife does spend a lot more money for her hair than I do, and I'm grateful for that. There are other folks in the community that will provide clothing as well. The Good News Rescue Mission has a program, and in fact, you might check with them to find out if they don't also supply free haircuts. That is a possibility. I think that we want to provide incentives, and I like that. I live my life in providing reward for people and reason for improvement, and I agree with that. But here we are caused to examine the use of our resources and limited resources at that. So I guess I would say that I do find a challenge with these type of expenses.
I'll just follow up, not to belabor the point, but Supervisor Kehoe and I both pulled this item, and Supervisor Keel's expressed very well the concerns I think that I had. Well, the only last question I would have is, when we give someone a gift card like to Ross to go purchase clothes, and I understand the reasoning for that, do we go with that person to see what they purchased, or do they come back later and show you what they purchased or how much they purchased?
The reason in purchasing the gift card is going through the process of making sure that we make sure that they're not spending it. In other words, giving cash so they can go out and spend it for whatever they want. And so this is, I mean, you know, we have a lot of things we're doing. You know, it's the simplest way to say that. Okay, so we took opportunities to reward these individuals. We felt that we were taking the steps to make sure that the items that were going to be purchased, that we chose to incentivize them with, were things that they could not abuse. And so that was the choice of the gift card. But right now, no, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not walking with them to buy the clothes or
see, and that's
the
my
haircut.
question. And you're right, you don't want them to abuse it. And so I'm just wondering, at some point, does someone check to make sure what they purchased was something that's job interview appropriate? And so we don't know, I guess.
I don't know today.
Okay. Supervisor Hawes?
Well, I'm going to move approval, and then I'm going to say a couple of things here. I think these people, when they graduate, I think the intent here is to make them feel like they've really done something and that they're going to get a reward. And I'm not so sure they get that same feeling going to a place where people collect other people's clothes and give them out. I think this is a step in their lives where maybe they won't be back in the system if we do everything right. And I think that's the intent, don't you, Mr. Foreman? I really do. So
Thank you.
You know, we can save money in other ways and save money, but when we've invested all of this money, in state's money as well as ours, into these people, we want it to turn out right. And I think that was your intent here, so that's why I'm making the motion.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Hawes made the
I
motion.
made the motion.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, have a motion, a second. Any other discussion?
I'll just add.
Go ahead. Supervisor Hartman.
Yeah, I agree with the concerns of, you know, they can go to Ross and buy a swimming suit. I think there should be some follow-up, and it can be done in a way to encourage and offer advice on how you want to dress and the impression you want to make at an interview. And I would like to see if we're going to continue this type of program, to see that follow through and, you know, not just sending them off. I agree with an reward system, but we need to follow up on it as well.
If I, do I have a chance to comment on that
Sure,
too? As well?
go ahead.
Okay. In response to that, the individuals that we actually then decide to reward, which is the two in the situation, we're working with on a continuous basis. So these two individuals, I am aware, when prisoners began to come out to us, a need for a women's support group surfaced. So we created that women's support group. We put a group of them in. These are the first two graduates of that. We've been working with them for a long time. They've made tremendous strides, and they graduated. So the purpose was to incentivize this and providing some means for them to improve their ability to present well when they went to employment seemed like a very logical type of reward. Now, we have continuous contact with these individuals, so we know whether or not, and we're working with them, and the support group would have helped them decide how to present themselves, what kind of clothes they need to buy and stuff. So it's an ongoing basis. So I can't answer Supervisor Modi's questions about whether we made them come back and show us what those clothes were, but there is accountability, and we are working with them, and we didn't make this decision lightly, and if we were to ever consider doing that again, wouldn't make it again. So.
And just one more, something you might want to follow through on in the state of California, whether or not gift certificates or gift cards can be redeemed for cash by law.
This was specifically for merchandise items.
But a gift card, can it be redeemed by law?
We made sure that could be specific, it was only specific to merchandise items for those locations. It couldn't be cashed in for money.
Okay.
I just will follow one last. I don't have a problem so much the incentives. I think your point was well made that you're trying to give someone a jump start to build their self-esteem and get them going. I just think you need to be aware of the perception of the public, but probably more importantly, to Supervisor Kehoe's point, is you need to be able to stand up here, or your staff, and be able to support and hold accountable to us that you know what that money was spent for. And it may be as simple as they go to Ross and purchase clothing, they come back, rather than your people going with them or shopping. I know you haven't got time for that, but maybe they come back, hey, this is what I got to go to my interview, what else I need to do. It's just that simple. And then you go, okay, got the receipt, got the stuff, you see it's appropriate. And then you can come to us or somebody else and say, yes, we know what they spent the money on. Otherwise, you're leaving, I think, your staff vulnerable to accusations that they're letting money be spent in some fashion that no one knows for sure, other than we gave them a gift card. And I think it's just more the protection of you and your staff as well as anything else, that you're trying to accomplish your goals and you can show that you are. Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries 4-1. Thank you, Mr. Foreman. The Shasta County Board of Supervisors will recess and convene as the Shasta Joint Powers Financing Authority. The Shasta County Board of Supervisors is not receiving any additional compensation or stipend for acting as the Shasta Joint Powers Financing Authority. One item we have is agreement for bond counsel.
Move approval.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The Shasta Joint Powers Financing Authority will adjourn and reconvene as the Shasta County Board of Supervisors. And before we move into our regular calendar, I've been asked to take a short break. We'll come back at 11:15.